Hi everyone, and welcome to this third advanced lesson of the Iron Workshop. In this lesson, we'll be learning how to create new units in HOI4. Now, we'll be focusing on land units, since naval units are a bit more complicated and are done differently since man the guns. And I will have a separate lesson on those. In this lesson, we'll be learning how to add a new unit and integrate it into the research tree. Let me just show you the end result of what we'll be making. So if we'll go to the German tech tree here, you will see that we will be adding the mecha unit. Specifically for Germany, it will be called the Hitler mecha, which some of you may recognize from the Wolfenstein series. And this is how it's going to look, and we will be focusing on creating the graphics, the entries, basically making a unit from zero and integrating it into the game. Now please note that this is an advanced lesson, so some of the topics here might be a bit complex if this is your first time modding HOI4. Also note that I will not be focusing on creating 3D models, and the graphics that I will be making using paint.net are very simple and are only meant to show you how to properly save the files and integrate them into the game. Alright, so let's get to it. Let's introduce mechs into HOI4. As with all previous lessons, we have a few steps to go before we can introduce our new mechs into the game. The first step is to create our mod. So to do that, we'll need to start HOI4 from Steam. From here, we'll go to mods, mod tools, create mod, and we'll call our mod Hitler mecha. And we'll give the directory the same name. And as for the tags, you can just put any of these. I will put gameplay, it doesn't really matter. And we'll click on create mod. Our next step is to create the folder structure. So in order for the game to read the files correctly, we will need the same folder structure that the vanilla units use. And we will also be using some of the vanilla files. So let's get to it. First of all, let us open our mod folder. It's located in Documents, Paradox Interactive, HOI4, Mod, and here's our Hitler mecha folder. And I'll open the vanilla game, which is located in the Steam folder. And from here, we will need, first of all, the common folder. So I will create that. Inside the common folder, we will need the technologies folder, which you can see right here. So let's create that. And we will also be needing the units folder. Inside the units folder, we will need the equipment folder. And in here, we will need to copy the mechanized.txt file, since our mechs are essentially mechanized infantry units. Next folder that we need is the GFX folder, which will house all of our graphic files. So let me create that. Inside of this folder, we need the interface folder. And inside of that, there is a folder called counters. So we'll get that one. And another two folders that we need inside of counters are divisions large and divisions small. So let me just copy those. Another folder that we need inside the GFX folder, make sure not to put it in interface, is a folder called text icons. So we'll create that one. Okay, that is all of them. The next folder that we need is the interface folder. Note that this is inside our root folder, not inside GFX, interface. And from inside the interface folder, we will need 3 files. The first file is called subunits. Subunit icons.gfx. That's the file that we need. The next file that we need is called technologies. And the last file is called text icons. All right, our last folder is the localization folder, which will have all the text for our new units. So localization, let me just make sure that I got it right. And in here, we will also need a few files. So we will need a file called equipment. We'll be taking the equipment L English file. Obviously, if you're creating this for a different language, you will need a different one. And we will need the unit L English file as well. Okay, so that's as far as the folder structure. Now we have all the files and we have all the folders, and we can move on to step number 3. Creating new unit entries. In step number 3, we will be creating our unit files. Now, it's very important that you understand that units in the game have, for the most part, 2 files that are related to them. There's the unit file itself, which is the unit on the battlefield that's doing the fighting. And there's the equipment file, which is the file responsible for the equipment that you build, right? So if you have a tank that's fighting on the battlefield, there's also the tank equipment, which is built, which reinforces that unit on the battlefield. So we will need to create both of these, both the unit, the battlefield unit, and the equipment file as well, so that we can reinforce and build new mechs to deploy on the battlefield. So let's go to our Hitler Mecha mod folder. From here we'll go to comments, and in the comment folder we'll go to units. And what I want to do here is to copy a unit file from the vanilla game. The file that we will be copying is called cavalry. Now, the reason that I chose this file is since it's a very simple file and it's a great file to begin with. And we will just be changing that to fit our mech units. So the first thing that I want to do is to change it to mech or mecha. Let's open the file. Now there's a lot of stuff going on in here. Most of it we will not change. You're obviously more than welcome to play with these stats and change them accordingly to either make your unit balanced or to make it overpowerful. But the important things that will change are, first of all, the name. So this will no longer be cavalry, it will be mecha. The sprite is the 3D model that you see on the map and in the research tree. So I don't want it to display the cavalry sprite, I wanted to display the mechanized unit sprite. So to do that, I'll just open a mechanized unit file. Those are located in infantry. and we'll just change the sprite to be mechanized. As for our map icon category, I will also change it to infantry. And I will remove this line that says cavalry yes, since this is not a cavalry unit. Okay, so let's save this. Now this is a very important line, active yes. What this means is that the unit will be available at the beginning of the game without us having to do any kind of research to unlock it. For now, we will have everything available at the beginning, just so that we can test things properly and see that they work. And later on, when we add the unit to our tech tree, we will log this unit so that it's not available and the player has to research in order to gain access to this unit and to the equipment. Okay, so this is the unit file, and now I want to create the equipment file. So we'll go into equipment, we'll open our mechanized.txt file, and I just want to go here to the end of the file and put it after mechanized equipment 3. But what I will do is copy this existing mechanized equipment entry. Let's put it in the end here. And we'll rename it to mecha equipment. Okay, it's a very good idea to keep the equipment suffix. That way, when you're referencing this entry, you know that you're referencing the equipment and not the battlefield unit. Now, one thing that I want to change here is is archetype yes. I will change it to no. Now, archetypes are good to use if you want to have some variations of the same unit, right? So as you can see here, this is the mechanized unit equipment, and it has these variations that the player unlocks. So this is an archetype, and you never actually build this. You build all of these models that come after it. For us, I want to create a very simple unit that will not have upgrades. So it will not be an archetype, it will just be a unit that we can build, which is also why we'll be changing is buildable to yes. And another line that I want to add here will be active yes. What this does is also activates this equipment at the beginning of the game so that I don't have to research or do any unlocking to gain access to this equipment, which allows me to test it before I lock it back again when we finish this lesson. Okay, now there are some stats in here, all kinds of things that you can play around with, the build cost, the air attack, breakthrough, all of those things. You can obviously play around with these stats to make your unit as powerful or as weak as you want it to be. We will not be changing these since I want to keep this lesson as simple as possible, despite the fact that it's an advanced lesson. So these are all the files that are related to our unit. What happens now is that in the game we should gain access to the unit so we can add it to our templates, and we will also have the equipment that we can build to reinforce this unit. Now what I want to do is to go into the game and make sure that these two things are already working. So to do that, I'll open HOI4, we'll go to mods, we'll make sure that our Hitler Mecha mod is selected, and let's see if it works in the game. Okay, so we're in the game. Let's go first of all to our production tab, and we'll hit on build infantry and artillery. And as you can see here, we have our mecha equipment. Great, so it's already showing in the game. That's very good. If you don't see it here, you should go back into the lesson and see maybe you missed something, or maybe you're missing a bracket somewhere. That's usually what happens why things don't show up. Now let's just make sure that we have the unit that we can put it in the templates. So it will be a mobile unit, since in our unit file here you see that the group is mobile. So let's go to mobile units and we have our mecha. Excellent. So this is a very important step, and once this is working, you can move to the next steps of this lesson. All right, now we'll be going to step number 4, creating new unit graphics. So essentially what we'll be doing here is editing the interface files to let the game know that there are new files with graphics for the unit that we've created. And we'll be creating the graphic files themselves. Note that I will not be putting much effort into the graphic files that I create here, since the only purpose of this lesson is to show you which files you need and how you should integrate it into the game. They don't need to look very good for the purpose of this lesson. Obviously, you can take the time to make your graphics much better than what I will be making during this lesson. So let's get to it. We'll need our we will be needing our interface folder, and in here we'll start with the subunit icons.gfx files. And there's a lot of stuff going on in here. We will probably not be messing with most of this stuff, but what's important for now is these large images for divisions. So I want to add an entry here before the bicycle battalion icon medium. So to do that, what I will do is copy this last entry and I will change it to fit my new unit. It's a good idea to keep the naming structure as close to vanilla as possible, unless you're creating something completely new, since that makes things much easier to debug and to find if there are any issues. So in here you see that we have GFX unit, then we have the unit name, then we have icon medium. So I will not be changing GFX unit and icon medium, I will just be changing the unit name, which is Hitler Mecha. Now it's very important that this name fits the name that you gave it here in the unit file itself. And as you can see here, it's called Mecha. It's not Hitler Mecha. So I will change it here so that they fit and that the game knows that I'm referring to this unit. Excellent. And this is the file, the graphic file itself. And in here, I will again only change the unit file, which is Hitler Mecha. And we'll save the file. Now we need the graphic file itself. We need to edit it. So what I'm going to do is to search for this file in the vanilla game. So I know that it's in GFX, interface, counters, divisions large, and we need bicycle. We need a file called unit bicycle infantry icon. Unit bicycle infantry icon. So I will take that. I will copy it into my GFX interface counters divisions large folder. And before we start editing this file, I will rename it to the new name that we've assigned it. And now we will be adding it and now we will be editing this file in paint.net. If you don't have paint.net, I will have a link to the download of this program in the video description. So let's open paint.net and you can just drag this file in here, hit open, and that's our file. Now let's edit this file. I want to zoom in. And before we start changing anything, it's very important that you understand that the game treats this one file as if it's two files. So if we go here to the subunit icons.gfx file, you will see that there's something here called number of frames 2. So that means that the game takes this one file, splits it in half in the middle, and treats it as two separate files. This one is the regular icon, and this icon is enabled when in the game options you choose to use NATO icons. So let's change both of these. As I mentioned before, I'm not going to put much effort into these graphics since we just need them to work in the game, no more than that. So I will just erase this bike. And I will draw something that looks like a robot. It will probably be quite awful. Now we need to save the file. So I'll click on save. And when you have this menu popping up in the settings, just choose the fourth option and hit OK. That's it, the file is saved. Now we should see this image in our template editing section of the game. And what I want to do right now is to go into the game and make sure that I see it. Now I'll go to my template editing. And as you can see, we have our icon. Now I should have made it green like the other ones, but again, it's not really important at this point. Let me just make sure that when I switch to NATO icons, I see the other type. Okay, we have our, great. The next file that we need to add is the small icon. So there's a large version and there's a small one. We'll just be doing the same thing. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to take an existing entry. And I will change it in here to our unit name. And now we need to open this file and just edit it. So we're looking for interface counters, divisions, small, on map unit, light tank. So let's just search for light tank icon. I will copy it in here and I will change its name. And we'll open it in paint.net. Let's zoom in since this is a small file. If you want to zoom in, just hold the Control key and use your mouse wheel to zoom. We'll again erase this. So that is it. These are all the changes that we needed to do to the subunit icons.gfx file. Now let's go to our next file, which is text icons.gfx. In here, we will need to add an entry for our new unit. So what I would like to do is to search for an existing unit entry and then just copy paste and add ours. So since we're adding a mechanized unit, I will just search for mechanized. And you see that here we have an entry called NATO unit mechanized icon small. So I will take this one. And we will stick to the names that we have. Now this is mechanized and I will change it to Hitler Mecha. And we will change this one as well. And now I will open this file and change it to what we need it to be. As we can see, it's in GFX. Text icons. Let's just put this name in here so that it finds it for us. And now we'll put it in our game folder, in our mod folder. And we will change its name. And edit it. Now this was for the NATO indicator, and we also need another one for the normal indicator. So let's just search for mechanized again. And here you see unit mechanized icon small. So that's the other one that we need. So again, I will just add my unit name in here instead of mechanized. And we'll open this file. We'll copy it over here. We'll give it the name of our unit. Excellent, so these are the entries that we needed in text icons. And the last one that's remaining is the technologies.gfx, but we're not going there yet, since I want us to first of all go into the game and see where these icons are displayed. Now to see the text icons that we've just edited in text-icons.gfx, we need to edit an existing template. Let me just turn off these NATO symbols. And we will need to put some of our Hitler Mecha units. I'm going to give myself some XP with the console so that I can save this template. And when I hover here, you see that I have 3, and this green icon, that's the text icon that we've created. This is where it's shown, and obviously you need to make sure that your unit icons are shown everywhere, otherwise the player may just see a number here without an indication of which unit it is. Okay, so that's basically all for the unit graphics. You might notice though that our equipment for the mecha is still missing an image. This is because these graphics are the ones that are used in the tech tree. So once we add our tech tree entry, the graphic will show up here as well. The next step that I want to cover is to create the localization for our unit. So let's get that over with, and then we can create the tech entry. The two localization files that we need to edit are unit L English. This is the localization that's relevant to the unit itself, the battlefield unit that's doing the fighting. So in here, what I want to do is to go into the unit entries. Now, it doesn't matter where you add it, but for the sake of keeping things organized, we should probably put it at the end of the file. So we'll be copying an existing unit localization entry. So for example, let's take this infantry entry, and I will add it at the end of the file. And I will rename it to Hitler Mecha. And we'll call it Mecha. Now note that in here I will not call it Hitler Mecha because these entries are read by all countries. So Hitler Mecha should only be relevant to Germany, and we will be adding that entry in the equipment localization file, which we will be doing in a minute. In here we just want the standard unit that's available to all countries. And in here, well, that's actually a funny description, but we'll just write mechs are cool. And we'll be saving this file. Now let's open the equipment L English file. And in here, I will once again copy an existing entry, and I will go to the end of the file. And in here, we will need to put the equipment syntax, not the unit syntax. So this is our mecha equipment entry. So we will copy this. In here, I'll just add the description. And just to differentiate between the unit and the equipment, we will call this the robotic infantry, since this is how it's displayed in the research tree. So robotic infantry is awesome. Another thing that I want to do here is to add the specific entry for Germany. So I will just take this, and what I'm going to do is to put the Germany tag before the name of the equipment, like this. And in here, we'll call this the Hitler Mecha. Hitler Mecha is awesome. Okay, so that's our localization. Now, once again, I want to go into the game and make sure that the localization is displayed properly and correctly in the game. Okay, so first of all, let's go to production. We'll click here and we see that our production is Hitler Mecha, robotic infantry. And if we go to our template editor, we'll see that we have Mecha. Excellent. So these are all of our unit related entries. And we can now move to step number 6, creating the tech tree entry itself that will unlock this unit for the player. Tech entry will unlock the unit for the player. Right now, the unit and the equipment are both available from the beginning of the game. And once we finish with our tech entry, we will lock them so the player has no access to them unless he researches the technology that we will be adding now. Let's take a look in the game. So what we want to do is to add another section here in the mobile infantry. Right after this one, we need another section here that will allow us to unlock our mechs. So to do that, we'll go to Common, Technologies, and we will need the infantry file from the vanilla game. Let's just copy it to the mod and open it. And in here, we will need to add our new entry. So I'll just copy this mechanized infantry entry. And I will change it to our mechs. So let's call it robotic infantry. And the next thing that I want to change is the equipment that this technology enables. So right now it enables the mechanized equipment 3, but instead of that, we wanted to enable our mecha equipment. But another thing that I wanted to enable is the unit, right? Since we will not have the unit unlocked before, we will need this tag to also unlock the unit. So to find the syntax for that, we'll go back a bit to the motorized infantry entry right here. And in here, we'll just copy this syntax, enable subunits, and we'll paste it in here. And we'll just tell it to unlock this subunit. And we will move this indicator, right? So right now it says 1944, and this means that it will be positioned here. I want our max to be available at 1946. Okay, now let's save that. Another thing that we need to do is to tell the game that in order to reach this technology, the player needs to research this one. So to do that, we will need the path syntax. So I'll just put it in here. And I'll tell it that it leads to robotic infantry. Excellent. Now that we have that, we just need to take care of the image and localization. To add the image, we'll need to go to our Hitler Mecha mod, go to Interface, go to Technologies, and in here we'll need to add an entry for our new file. Now, since we're adding a unit in the mobile infantry tree, I'll just search for mechanized unit entry. And as you can see, we've landed on mechanized infantry 3 medium, which is this one. So I'll copy it. Now, just so you know, this is the entry for the default unit, right? That all countries have access to. So this file is not this one, since this one is unique to Germany. And that's what we will be adding. We will be adding a file for all countries. Nothing specific. If you want one for Germany, you will just need to add a file specific to Germany and put the relevant tag that you can see in this file. The name of our file will have to be the same as our technology entry is. Okay, so in here, we will need to call it robotic infantry. So GFX, robotic infantry medium. Okay, and this is our file. The file name can be different. So let's just call it Hitler Mecha equipment. Okay, now what I want to do is to find this file and then just edit it to have our new image. So let's find this file. in the vanilla game, we'll go to GFX, Interface, Technologies, we'll copy the file to our Hitler Mecha mod, GFX, Interface, Technologies, and we will rename it. And open it in paint.net. And now I want to edit this file. So first of all, I will erase the current content of this file. And I will be using an image that I found on the internet. Obviously, you can use any other image. Just follow these instructions with your own image. So I'm going to open this file in here. And I'm going to copy it. And now I want to paste it in here. But I want to keep the canvas size. Okay. And now we need to shrink the image to fit our file. To do that, just zoom out, holding Control and using your mouse wheel. And now just put the mouse pointer on one of these circles at the edges and hold the Shift key and just change the size like this. Zoom back in. Make sure that it's positioned correctly in the center of the file and save it. With the same settings as before, the fourth option, okay, our file is saved, excellent. And now we can move to the last step of testing everything in game. So let me just close the game here. Let's make sure that we saved all of our files and let's see the end result. Okay, so as you can see, we have our equipment, our robotic infantry, specifically for Germany, the Hitler Mecha. And we can also put the unit in here. In mobile units, we can put our robots. Excellent. One last thing that I want to do is to lock both the battlefield unit and the equipment so that the player doesn't have automatic access to them when he starts the game. So to do that, we'll go back to our unit file. We'll change active to no. And in the equipment, we will also change active to no. And let's just test this in the game. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we don't have the mecha equipment now. And if we try to add mecha in our templates, we don't have it. Let's cheat a bit so that we can see if we can add these while we research. So we'll go to our research tree. We'll research all of these tags. And now we can build our robotic infantry and we can put them in the templates. Excellent. All right, guys, so that was it. I know it's a long lesson and it's a bit tedious. I hope everything works out for you when you do this. If it doesn't, just try to rewatch the section that's relevant to whatever that is that's not working. If you still can't get things to work, please leave a comment in the video and I will do my best to help you. And you can also go to the Discord channel to ask there. I'm usually around, so that if you have any issues with this, I can help you. Or you can leave a post in the subreddit. Links to all of these I will have in the video description, and you have on the main page of the channel. Thank you very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you in the next one on the Iron Workshop. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. Hey guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Check out these other videos on the Iron Workshop that you might enjoy as well. Please consider supporting the Iron Workshop on Patreon. This will allow the channel to grow and become even better. Thank you.